All right, welcome. Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight episode something. I don't remember anymore. I think I've said that the past 3 times now, so whatever it is. And Happy New Year. It is New Year's Eve today if you're watching live or when this is uploaded. So hopefully 2024 is a good year, right? We're hopeful. Or we can maybe do more of these episodes as well. Yay. Whatever, because whatever number we're on, let's keep it going. Maybe we can hit episode 721. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll take a few years.
Just a few, but we'll get there eventually, surely. But welcome to the show. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. I'm excited to talk about the world of speedrunning and Mario Maker. Some good content to be found there, I believe.
Oh yeah, it's there's a lot of overlap for sure, but definitely speed running's awesome.
Yes, I do think it is awesome. So, I think, of course, the best place to start is at the beginning. So, how did you begin your journey here?
Uh, so I've kind of been playing games, a lot of streamers probably since I can even remember. Back we had a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis when I was growing up, and Uh, just we used to play a lot of this game called Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football on the Genesis. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's just a
No.
random sports game. Um, yeah, I love video games. Been playing nearly every day since then. In terms of speed running, I guess the first thing I ever remember seeing, I feel like a lot of people saw this. There was a TAS of Super Mario Bros. 3 kind of floating around on the internet, but it wasn't advertised as a task. It was just kind of one of those viral, watch this guy beat Mario 3 in like 10 minutes or something back in like 2004 or 5. And I was like, this guy's amazing. This is the best game player in history. He's so good. But it was a task, which I didn't know what that was. But
The famous
um,
Morimoto, I believe.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty old. You think speedrunning's kind of newer, but it's been around a long time. That had to have been 2004, 2005. I saw that, and I'd never heard the word speedrun even back then, so it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people have been doing stuff since the 90s. Any game with like a little timer in it or something.
Yeah, for sure. Like, time trials, a lot of games had timers built in, which kind of naturally would lead to let's try to improve my best time, but I I never would have had the idea of like, oh, let me beat, I don't know, Super Mario World faster than I ever had. It was just kind of, I beat it. All right, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Um, I think the first real speedrunning I remember watching a lot of was Siglimic 120 star, the old days. He'd sit there with no mic, no camera, and maybe this was 2010, 2011, something like that. And it was crazy. That's probably how a lot of people got into modern speedrunning. I thought it was so cool. I was like, this guy's amazing. And you'd see him fail and fail and fail. And yeah, it's wild. It's over a decade since that. It's grown so much. It's really crazy. Thinking back that it was so niche, small. You could show somebody that back then, and their mind would be shocked at somebody doing this. And now, even a lot of casual people know at least kind of the concept of speedrunning.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's pretty
popular.
crazy.
Just, yeah, the general concept's very popular now. Maybe not. the traditional aspect of it as much. But yeah, I mean, Seglimit back then, he was streaming like 12 hours. There's so much
Yeah.
content to enjoy there. Silence has dawned on us.
Um, yeah. I didn't start streaming myself uh, till 2016 with Mario Maker. Uh, I feel like a lot of speedrunners kind of got into that game and maybe quit after a month or two. And some kept playing, like Carl Sagan or Trihex. But yeah, I used to just play. I like to play the hardest levels I could find, and I'd upload clips of me beating them on YouTube. And people said you should stream, and I'm like, I don't want to stream. Like I don't know how to do that. That's too much work. And they're like, we want to watch you play, and I was like, fine, I'll try it. And yeah, it's been about close to 8 years since then. Uh, and I still play Mario Maker, which is shocking because not a lot of people play the same game, although I guess in speedrunning specifically, that's a very normal thing to do.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, it's kind of grown to um, Mario World ROM hacks I learned about because of Mario Maker. Now there's Mario Maker 2, which is still very fun to play. Uh, and yeah, currently Nintendo's going to shut down the original Mario Maker 1 server this coming April, which is
Mm,
very sad, but it's not super surprising. It's kind of like, yeah, I guess I could see this coming. There's a group of us trying to clear all the levels in the game because you can't upload to the game anymore, so there's a finite set.
mm,
And I think there's maybe 8,000 left at this point, so we have like 4 months to do that.
really?
It's going to come down to the wire. There's some really, really, really hard ones that people spent hundreds of hours beating. I'm not going to try those, but maybe somebody will. But it's pretty cool just knowing that the community could kind of beat that game, like a game that's supposed to be unlimited.
Hmm. How many levels are there? There's got to be a lot, right?
I don't have an exact number, maybe 14, 15 million. Uh,
Oh.
and most of them are like so easy, like a toddler would beat it in a couple tries. So luckily for us, most of them were already cleared. And then there's a lot that's just kind of slipped through the cracks. Like, well, this isn't that hard. Just nobody bothered to grind it for 10 minutes or so. Um, there's probably a couple hundred floating out there that really need one of the top players to be able to do even have a chance at doing it. And then do they have time? Do they want to spend that long on a game that's dying? I don't know. Some of them are not fun levels.
Hmm.
They're there's one we found. It's like um, there's a trick where you come off a conveyor and it sets up the right pixel to do a wall jump, and it's frame perfect. And I guess this creator really liked doing that because you have to do it 150 times in a row. It's that many frame
Oh.
perfect jumps, and if you mess up, you got to start all over. So I guess in your
Fun.
realm, it's kind of like the wall jump in Bowser's Castle at the end.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably a little different, but like trying to just hit that 150 in a row, and if you mess up back to zero, like you'd probably get bored. You wouldn't want to do that. It's feels like work at that point.
Yeah, bit ridiculous. And if that's like a public level, that means the creator had to have beaten it, right?
They did, yeah. They have another one that's 125, which I guess is easier, but it just is the same thing, and that one's unbeaten as well. But
Hmm.
yeah, that is the thing. If the level's up there, they had to beat it. There's some people who have a modded game and they can hack and can usually identify when they did that, but this is a known player in the community. They're very skilled, so it's
Makes
unlikely
sense.
that's the case. They just are dedicated and very good.
Mm-hmm. So how many community members are like pushing to get every level in that game cleared? Because it sounds like it's got to be a
Um,
big like community effort to do something like that.
yeah, it started so this kind of started back in 2017, 2018. It was kind of a joke at first, like we would find levels that nobody had beaten and be like, this is team 0%. Ah, so cool. But then it kind of became actually cool. It was like, well, what if we actually did this, you know? Like some of these levels, there's hidden gems out there. There's also just the worst, horrible, awful level you can imagine out there that we would have to clear. Um, so Mario Maker came out in 2015, and we thought, well, we can't beat all of them. That's ridiculous. But maybe we could beat all the levels that came out in 2015 only, like the first year of the game beaten. And so we did do that. I don't know when it happened, but it was hundreds and hundreds of people all working towards it. Um, and then it kind of just fell off after that. But now with the deadline of, hey, they're shutting the server down for this old game, it's kind of made a resurgence. Definitely not as popular as it used to be, but maybe 100, at least 100 or so people. Some very, very top level players are focusing on the hardest levels, and I think it's not realistic to finish, but we'll see. It depends. It really depends on these crazy top hardest levels. If those guys, there's people a lot better than me. If they can be bothered to clear those, especially the not fun ones, maybe it could happen. But realistically, it's probably going to clear out and be 10 or so left that are just way too hard. And but either way, it's just cool to have the community coming together. It's cool to jump back on this old game that yeah, Mario Maker 2 is so different, so it's kind of a shock coming back to this one, but it's been a lot of fun. Um, and there's a project to keep the server alive, which I hope becomes a thing. You can find all the levels in Maker 1 on archive.org. Somebody extracted it and uploaded all the data, so
Hmm.
if they can get like a fan server running, they can just populate the game back, and then we could have an unofficial Mario Maker 1, which is very cool. I like the idea of that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame they don't keep their old stuff alive a lot of the time, and so the fans have to make it work. But it's cool that they do that.
Yeah, it happens. Most companies, it's getting less and less common these days, I think. It can't be costing that much to keep Mario Maker 1 with a few hundred people playing alive, but I guess they don't care. I don't know.
They sure don't. That's what I've noticed. But yeah, like I know some people are trying to keep Mario 35 alive in somewhat similar ways because that requires servers to play and all that. And
Yeah, I
why do
saw
they keep
somebody
getting rid of this
streaming that.
stuff? Angry.
I saw somebody streaming Mario 35 a few months ago, and that was kind of wild. I was like, I thought this died, and I guess, yeah, there's a fan project to keep it running, which is pretty cool.
Hmm.
I liked playing it. I don't, there was no reason to get rid of it, but whatever.
Yep. Nintendo's cool that way, getting rid of everything. Got rid of what 3DS and Wii U shops recently. Now it's shutting down all these servers. Like any Wii U game is getting shut down, I think, that had online.
Yeah, the Wii U and 3DS. And if somebody were to get a refurbished, I just learned this a few days ago. If your 3DS gets refurbished, you literally can't get on right now with it. Like, I guess
Hmm.
because they're not producing new ones, it's just, I don't know, some way they configured it so you can't even enjoy the last few months, which is kind of sad.
Well, that sucks. I'm glad mine isn't in that situation. I play mine almost every day at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shame, but hopefully it's called Pretendo. That's the fan project to try to get as many games running as possible.
Hmm.
Hopefully it does work out.
Yep. Yep. I'm glad the fans can step in where the massive corporations with the money can't for some reason. Whatever.
Yeah, I guess they don't care about their history. I don't know. I guess the 3DS was good. They Wii U considered a failure, but it's still theirs. They made it.
It still exists. That's all the Wii U's got going for it. Yeah, 3DS was cool though. It's good. That was a good system. Again, I play mine still a lot because it's just so convenient and a lot of good stuff on there. And now that they've shut down all their stuff, I don't feel bad at all about obtaining things through other means. So,
Yeah, there's no other way to do it.
hmm.
Yeah, I've never had I had a DS with just the Mario 64 DS. I don't know if
Hmm.
it had a different name, and then we got rid of it. So I've never been a DS guy at all.
Yeah, I grew up with I had every like iteration, so it was good for what it did. Good system, but you can't enjoy it as much anymore. Haha, thanks Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess we're waiting to see what succeeds the Switch. They're not. They still talk like it's their main thing, which it's still fun, but I
Definitely
think we're
outdated, but
it's a bit past it's a bit past time to have an upgrade, I think.
it is very outdated, but goddamn if it's not selling like I don't know. It's crazy how
Yeah.
popular it is. So, I mean it is really good, but yeah, the hardware is leaves a lot to be desired. They definitely need at the very least some sort of like revision to some more powerful stuff in it. Like how the 3DS had like the new 3DS line, made it more powerful. Very least, do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they did do the Switch Lite, which is okay, I guess if you don't care about setting it up on the TV, but it's in the end it's just the same console but
Hmm.
only portable. Um
Yeah, and then the
yeah,
OLED is
I'm
just
waiting to
a
see what's
bigger
next.
screen. It doesn't really. Well, maybe there's some hardware difference in there. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the main selling point of the OLED is just portably. Now you have your 1080p, slightly larger screen. Whoop de doo. There you go.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's all it is too. Yeah, we probably won't see another Mario game on the Switch, so
Hmm.
till that console comes out, I, will there be Odyssey 2 or will it just be some brand new thing that is completely unrelated?
Yeah, we'll never know until it happens. The Switch U. If it's called that, I'm going to never play Nintendo again. Oh my god.
And I feel like they learned their lesson,
I
unless
sure hope so. God. That would be funny though. Um But yeah, Mario Maker 2. I'm glad that's still going strong. At least sounds like so much you can do in that game. Like the differences between that and Maker 1. Although I do miss that Maker 1 had all of like the little like amiibo skin stuff you could do. I can't believe they didn't bring that back, but all this stuff they
Yeah,
added is really cool for creativity.
yeah, it's like a trade-off. Like, there's definitely a group of people who say Mario Maker 1 was the perfect game, and they don't like Mario Maker 2, but I mean, I think the main thing with that is the physics engine. They changed it a lot, at least for high level play, and even some casual play. Like when I went back to Maker 1, uh, Mario Maker 2, they added in a 3 frame buffer. So if you press jump before you land within 3 frames, you'll still jump.
Hmm.
So I booted up Maker 1 and I'm pressing jump too early and I just run off the ledge. And I'm like, why is he not jumping? And I'm like, oh, that's right. They didn't have this. And
Interesting.
yeah, the amount of new items, enemies, bosses, themes, it's really cool. And I want more. I hope they make another one because I get the question, what would they even add? I'm like, have you looked at literally every other Mario game? Just grab those things and throw it in, and then that interacts with every item that's already in the game. So that's so many interactions.
Hmm.
Or they could just invent something new, like in Maker 2, they threw Link in the game, and he has his own unique abilities, and nobody saw that coming. That was brand new. Like, it was extremely cool, and that's never been in another game. So
Yeah.
just invent their own new power up or Mario Wonder or whatever.
Yeah,
I
they
do. I like it a lot.
yeah, they definitely gave up on that game really quickly for whatever reason. I still remember like so you have your four like game styles and then they had the whole 3D world thing and it was this whole other way to like play the game and it was really cool. And look, there's plenty of space for more styles. Never happened.
Yeah, yeah, that one. It definitely seems so. In the last update to the game, they just gave us SMB2, but it was just the mushroom.
Hmm.
And it really seems like, oh, they were going to make a full SMB2 theme and throw it in that spot, but I guess budget time, something. Maybe they're saving it for Mario Maker 3. That's what I'm hoping. But yeah, it
Yeah.
just didn't happen. Uh, yeah, they did the same thing with Mario Maker 1 as well. They kind of just quit updating the game out of nowhere, and we were like, what is going on? And then 2 years later, Mario Maker Mario Maker 2 got announced, so I guess you never know.
Yeah, it's impossible to know for sure, but I mean, it still just sucks because they had so much potential and then it's just like, well, we're done here. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I do know if you look at the credits of both games, the Mario Wonder devs are it's most of the same people from Mario Maker 1 and 2, so I guess that's what they were doing this whole time. So
Hmm.
now,
That's fair.
are they making Mario Maker 3? Are they making just another 2D game? Like, but Nintendo doesn't talk about those things. They just wait till it's ready to send it out and then they tell you.
Yeah, at least Wonder was great. They did it finally.
It was really good, yeah. A lot of people it I don't think there were many people at all who didn't like it. There was definitely a decent amount of just like, it feels like new Super Mario Bros. 5 or whatever, but I thought
It
they
did
did a
not feel
great
that way
job.
to me.
I thought they did a great job changing it up and feeling like this is its own thing. Like, sure, maybe if you don't think it's as good as SMB3 or SMW or whatever, but I definitely think it was an improvement.
Hmm. It stands on its own as a great game, I think. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
it's
And
hard to
the
compare it to stuff, but I mean, it plays nothing like the new Super games. The new Super games all play the same. Let's just tell it like it is. But that game is wild, full of creativity and like, I don't know, its own. It's got its own thing going. Like there was lots of effort put into it that you don't see in like the new Super games.
yeah, and the wonder effects just there are a few that repeat, but for the most part it was nearly every level. It was like, wow, this is brand new. I've not seen this in especially the stuff where you kind of go into the background. It reminded me of Odyssey switching between 2D
Mm.
and 3D. I was like, this is really cool. Like, I would like to have this somehow in Mario Maker. Let me build a level that's using the background layer as where you're playing.
Yeah,
Um,
Wonder would transfer over to Mario Maker quite well, I think. And people have already been making custom levels for Wonder, and they're pretty cool.
yeah, I have seen that. I hope it takes off because there's not a lot of modding for the new Super Mario Bros. Stuff. I think one thing it's really hard for them to do, but it also just was never super popular in from like a high level standpoint.
Hmm.
But Wonder's rapidly growing, so we'll see if it becomes anything like big, like or if maybe it'll start to die off after a few months or whatever.
Yeah, it's still pretty early on, I suppose, but a lot of potential there for sure. So hopefully things go well with that. But yeah, no one's like doing anything with the new Super games because that's what Mario Maker's for.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Um there are a few cool mods for them out there, but I imagine the ones that I've seen that look cool take so many years to make, and most people don't have or want to invest years into releasing a fan game.
Hmm.
Uh Something like Super Mario World is got such a robust editor that once you learn it, you can make your own full game in a couple of months if you're not doing anything too technical like custom stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, so if Wonder can get to that state where somebody who doesn't know how to code or anything like that can build levels, I could see it growing a lot.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, am I right when I say that like the Mario Maker games, like because the Mario 1-3 world in new Super styles all control the same except for like a couple minor stuff, but they're all like basically using like the new Super U like kind of physics and gameplay.
Yeah, so I haven't played the game, but people tell me that it feels almost identical to the new Super Wii game.
Hmm.
NSMBU, like on the Wii U, is a bit different. Mostly it's slower, which a lot of players complain Mario Maker, you're too slow and it's hard to change your momentum. But in NSMBU on the Wii U, it's even worse.
Mm.
But yeah, I haven't played the Wii version, but people tell me that it feels extremely close to that. And yeah, the other engines are just cloned off of that, other than you have different abilities in each engine, but just
Hmm.
Mario's actual speed, jumping, turning around, things like that. They're all just clones of each other.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, yeah, they'd be their own separate styles in like that extra mode. But yeah, I've
Yeah, the
heard like it's essentially the same as like the new Super games. So it's like, yeah, that's probably why you won't see a lot of mods of it. It's just easier to make a Mario Maker level. It's like the same kind of
yeah,
thing.
and the rumor is that in the early stages of Mario Maker, they did use like real SMB1, 3, and world physics. And I guess with the focus groups, people got too confused or frustrated at how different it felt. And
Hmm.
I guess they decided we need to make it consistent, and they chose that one,
Interesting.
which I personally,
Yeah.
SMB1's very fun when you aren't stopping and starting, but when you have to like slow down or stop, it's pretty rough. I guess if you're speed running, you're always just going right at max speed for most of the level. But in a custom level environment, I feel like it would definitely be the least popular had they went that route.
Now there I could make a level where you have to wall jump a bunch. Assuming they wouldn't patch any of the glitches from that. Which obviously they would because they don't like fun, but
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting how the game would have been different. Mario 3 would have P speed and running really, really fast instead of just fake P speed.
yeah. I mean, it still triggers the like raccoon Mario thing though, right? So at least it has some sort of use, even though yeah, it's like doesn't affect your speed at all.
Yeah, yeah, and there's some very minor things that occur at actual P speed. I think maybe you jump a couple pixels higher or something, and people
Interesting.
find these weird things and make a level that exploits it, and then nobody knows how to beat their level until this obscure fact or glitch becomes known. And that's what's cool about it is even 8 years later, every now and then somebody puts up a level and we're like, what is this? Nobody knows how to beat it. And it's because they found a new trick or new interaction or something that none of us have seen because there's probably billions of possible things you can do in that game. Um, and yeah, it's it's just a sandbox. I want more. I need it.
Never satisfied. I mean, yeah, there's tons of stuff you can do. What are some like I assume there's like some glitches and stuff because I've heard like they'll like remove levels if they're like, oh, you can't do that. We hate fun. No glitching allowed. But there's got to be some cool like that, and then the interactions and stuff that are just really sick. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, they do delete levels all the time, and when you go to the code of conduct or whatever, when you go into the game, it says like don't use glitches or something like that. We have the right to take your level down. I don't know, but um, yeah, there's all kinds of really neat stuff. One is I don't know how the glitch is done, but you can build rails in the game that you can throw enemies and items and things on, and they move along the rail. Somehow you build like an incomplete rail or something like that, and it has these glitchy properties, and so you can make the player like warp. At the last SGDQ 2023, 2022. I don't remember, but we did a race and there was a level called like portal warping or something, and they used that glitch to warp us
Oh
all over
yeah.
the screen. And I'd never seen this until that, and I was like, this is amazing, but if they upload that level, it'll get taken down within like 2 minutes because
Mm-hmm.
they don't think it's amazing. Really cool, and they should just add it as an official feature if they don't like the glitchy way, because I think it makes the game more fun. But um, yeah, there's several silly interactions like you can squeeze a womp somewhere it's like barely fits or something, so it vibrates, and then if you put a cannon on top and Mario jumps, he gets launched at way, way above max speed, and sometimes troll levels will do that to launch you into spikes, or they'll do it in just a level to make you do a big jump. And that's pretty, as long as you just look up how to do it, that's very easy to set up. But yeah, they would delete your level if they found that. I don't know. They should just add these things as real things so that it doesn't have to be a glitch. It can just become part of the game because we
Yeah.
find it fun.
Well, again, Nintendo hates fun, so they'd never. But so levels that take advantage of these glitches, they just can't like upload them to the like public servers. Is there a way to like share them around like unpublicly? I don't know what I'm trying to say here,
Um,
but you,
yeah, so you can upload them. It's not like there's a system that detects it. It has to be a player would report it, and then somebody would
yeah.
manually detect, oh yeah, this is using this glitch, blah blah. Um,
Hmm.
but usually, what the problem is, if you do it too often, they'll just ban you because I don't know why. It's just delete the level and let them keep playing. But so they'll upload it, tell their friends, go download this, and then they'll delete it. Um, and a
I
lot
see.
of the troll community has kind of started using very big glitches. There's actually a Mario Maker 2 glitch showcase coming up at AGDQ by Carl,
Ooh,
um, and that's going to be wild. Yeah, if
that's
that level
exciting.
somehow got uploaded, it would Nintendo would lose it. There'd be the alarm sound at their HQ, like.
Yep.
But it's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, they have a team that manually checks because sometimes we find levels that use like bad glitches. Like people have found glitches that hard lock your console. Like you literally gotta just manually power it off. There's no way out.
What?
And I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna report this. This glitch sucks, and the level doesn't get deleted because I don't know why. It's just
Oh,
arbitrary.
they hate fun so much they'll keep the bad stuff in just to have you have a shitty experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. Maybe they don't even know that that's there because it's kind of a obscure thing, but I
Hmm.
don't know.
Now I'm curious, how does it hard lock a console? Because you should always be able to like pause the game, right?
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I guess like even the home button to go to the Switch firmware no longer works, and it's like making a loud noise or something. Um,
Huh.
there's two that I've seen. There's one. It's something with a wiggler and partial water. I don't know how to set either of these up, but I've seen them. And if you touch the wiggler, it just is locked, and all you can do is turn it off.
Hmm.
And there's another that's actually it was in Mario Maker 1, and we would report it to them, and it never got fixed. And then we got Mario Maker 2, and somebody's like, hey, I wonder if this still works. And it does, and it's still in the game to
Oh
this
my
day.
god.
It's like you land on Yoshi and to power up something at the exact same frame, and it just, some error in the logic, it just doesn't know what to do, and it gets stuck.
Hmm.
So sometimes people make a level that tricks you into thinking this is a fun little real level, and then they've got that setup there that when you land a certain way, it just locks up, and I don't know. They don't make sense. They have no can't talk to them. There's no reason. Like we did this because this. You just gotta guess. It's it's weird.
Very interesting that glitches can like just cause your console to be like, well, too bad for you. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if this is true, but somebody said one of the hard locks, like if you have an old model of Switch, maybe the fan or something gets like overused, and they said it can actually like brick your Switch. I don't I haven't
What?
seen
Oh,
that, but I've heard it, and I'm like, they need to delete that level because some child is going to be playing this game, and then their Switch doesn't work. But I don't know that that's true. I've just heard it.
that's crazy that it can affect it in that way.
Yeah, it's wild, and
Mario Maker's too powerful.
yeah, they don't make sense a lot of the time. That usually they will delete them, but it seems the fun stuff always gets deleted.
Yeah,
So
can't have fun in my Nintendo game. But yeah, I remember seeing that showcase, whatever GDQ that was. I think it was this year. But yeah, that teleportation stuff. There was nothing like that before. That was like a new thing.
yeah, that was really cool, and it's mostly a I don't know how they designed it that way because I think when you do it, it just teleports you arbitrarily, but maybe they figured out how to tell where, like, oh, he's going to land here or something. I'm sure it took a lot and a lot of work because it's not, you don't just place down the portal. They're doing this fake rail glitch, something. I don't know how it works, but I'm sure it's magic. Very cool. That was one of the coolest things I've played in a while, and it's part of it's just because it was new. Like it was kind of like if Nintendo patched the game and added portals. Like I wish they would patch the game, add in charging chucks. Like I'm sure people have millions and millions of ideas they could use charging chuck for, but uh,
Alas.
we either or just this is what we got, or we gotta wait for a new one. I don't know.
Yeah. Isn't he in the 3D world? Or am I making that up?
Uh, he's in the actual game 3D world, but not Mario Maker
Oh, okay.
3D world.
Huh. Yeah, why not add him? That's so weird.
Yeah, and even somebody had the idea, like, I don't know. I probably think this would be a worse idea, but they could make Mario Maker like how a lot of games are doing it, like the free game, and then just sell like,
Mm.
oh, you can turn Bowser into dry Bowser, blah blah, like, and that way they could keep updating the game. But yeah, that would probably be a worse implementation. But
Yeah.
we're just the community is starving. It's been over 4 years now since Maker 2 came out.
I've already done everything. Need more content.
Yeah, it's rare. It gets further and further. The window gets bigger and bigger for somebody to discover a new interaction. It does still happen, but it's noticeably. It used to be like literally multiple times every day. Like, oh, I found this new thing. Look at this. But yeah,
Getting a lot more
we
scarce now.
yeah, and it's kind of like I guess just speed running too. Like people years and years ago, people would find new skips, new strats, new setups, and I guess like for a lot of the really popular games, that's becoming less common. Like, well, we have like people making advanced tasks and scripts to find like setups to let people do these task only tricks, or it seems like we found the optimal route now. So I guess it's just gaming in general. Like we dissect it and
Yeah.
take it apart, and there's only so much to find.
Mm. Yeah. The longer something's out, the more you're gonna know about how it works. But I mean, there's still plenty of stuff being found in old stuff. Surprisingly, you never really know, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And even just like Mario 64 could be like the biggest speed game, really. And there's very recently the carpetless, so
Mm-hmm.
that blew my mind. I was like, there's no way they're doing this. And then they did it. And then they were like, this trick sucks because it's too hard. And they were like, don't worry, I found an even easier way to do it. And now they're getting it like 10 times in a row. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's
Yeah,
here. This new holy grail.
yeah. The top like 6 or so runs all have it or something now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's. I guess it just takes somebody that wants to push the limit. They're like, I don't know. Like, I guess in your game, the flagpole glitch, you guys knew about that way, way, way before people actually started using it. But it was like, this is impossible. Nobody's ever going to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
then now it's kind of a standard trick. So
Yep. Setups. They're the way of life. It's what you need. That carpetless was able to be done forever. You just needed that like RT viable setup for it, which was found. Same thing for most really difficult tricks that seem tests only for the longest time.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what a lot of stuff is lately. Is let's go look at the tasks and see if we can do any of this impossible stuff they do. And sometimes it does work out, and it's really cool.
Yeah. A lot of games are really starting to implement a lot more task stuff that they're trying to find RTA viable ways to pull off this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool how useful tasking is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think recently Luigi's Mansion, I didn't see what it was, but that game I guess just had a huge breakthrough that they found. And that's a pretty popular speed game too, so it makes you feel like no game's ever truly finished, although I guess SMB1 it's unlikely there's more to find, but I guess you never truly know.
Yeah. Incredibly unlikely, but uh, I can't say that definitively. You never can. I mean, I found something in 2J last year that no one ever found before. So that's like Mario 1 with extra steps, so close enough.
Right, yeah.
You never know what's lurking around the corner in that game. But just no one was like, hey, what about this? Then it works. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I guess the 3D aspect makes it there's probably a lot more glitch and weird interactions to find just by there being another variable to add to your movement. You're in 2D, I guess the devs have a better try at not letting you break their game, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely still happens all the time.
Yeah, Mario 64 always has something like at least once a year there's something even if it doesn't save a lot of time, it's like, "Oh shit, that's cool." Carpetless happened to save a lot of time though. So, that's the outlier, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's always something to find in a game. So, who knows? Maybe the showcase at GDQ this year for Mario Maker will showcase something brand new.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see that. I have an idea of what is going on, but I'm sure they've got some stuff they've never shown anywhere because it's going to be on a bigger stage, so they want to really do something crazy. And they, they're doing some kind of modding with Mario Maker these days. I've not looked into it, but I guess they're talking about they want to be able to add their own. Since Nintendo doesn't give us new stuff, they want to be able to add in
Mhm.
new items and enemies. So maybe there'll be something with that. I don't know, but it should be pretty cool. Uh, At least the stuff I know is going to be in it is very wild.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it's either the final day or the second to final day. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Carl Sagan doing the showcase. So it should be fun.
Yeah. Mario Maker is always like towards the end of the event, I feel. And it's always there. That or like some Mario
Right.
World stuff, but usually Mario Maker is always in GDQ in some form.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and it just I feel like if they m- make a new game, it just kind of re-energizes the community, I guess. Like a lot of the people we've been playing, so we're like, oh, like when you find new things, it gets exciting, and when less people are playing, they can't find new things because they're not playing. So the less people playing, it kind of stacks on itself. Like, the community shrinks, the possibility of somebody finding some cool new thing shrinks. Um, when a new game comes out, I remember Mario Maker 1, it was very stale. Like, a lot of people didn't want to play anymore. And as soon as Maker 2 comes out, it was everybody came back and we were all excited talking. So I want that feeling again, just we
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. Discover, explore the new world.
Yeah, it is a shame that they stopped updating it. I mean, it's just they better be doing something because there's so much more they could do with the concept. I mean, there's so much you already can do with the concept, but there's always more. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure the discovery aspect's always the best part of it. And can't get that if they're not adding anything.
Yeah. It's it kind of happens in all game communities. Like, I'm sure if somehow somebody found new tech, new setup something in SMB1, people would be like, "Oh my god, I want to try this new trick. Like, how do you do it?" Like, see somebody get it, you're like, "Oh, how did you do that? Like, you got any tips?" Everybody, it just gets people excited, and it's fun to have the community aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a good point of engagement for a community. So if you're not getting any of that, it's like, well, why engage? Gotta have a
Right,
reason
right.
for it. So yeah, hoping there's some more cool Mario Maker stuff on the way. I mean, again, it's always in GDQ, so that opens people's eyes to the game a lot more, seeing the cool stuff you can do with it. So maybe something can come of it. Never know. But yeah, again, yeah, Mario Maker's been in GDQ a bunch. It's like every event, right? Almost every event. I'm pretty sure it has a little something, whether it's like a relay race or a showcase of some sort.
Yeah, most events, um, there was like a 2-year gap in Maker 1 where it didn't show up, and uh, we would submit it every year, and it kept getting declined. And we're like, why are they declining our run? Like, we don't. Mario Maker was so successful, it raised this money. It was one of the peak viewed games. Like, why are they declining it? And it turned out they banned the game for 2 years because of a level that Seth Bling put in that it it kept like it was like you would do this room and you'd go in a door and it'd be the same room but it got harder, and
Mm-hmm.
then you just keep doing that, and then at the end it drew a picture of dick butt, and I guess they didn't like that, so
Oh.
it was banned for 2 years until 2019, I think. But yeah, Other than that, for the most part, if we've submitted it, it's been in there. I think there was one GDQ, just nobody did a submission. And I thought this year there wasn't one for this AGDQ, and I saw Carl on the list. I was like, I didn't know he was submitting that. That's so exciting. But yeah.
Yeah, was that did they like show that level at a GDQ event? That's why it was banned, or that's
Yeah,
interesting.
they changed their rules where now we have to like show them we have to finish the levels and show them before the event. I guess I wasn't part of the original races. I guess
Mm.
people just showed up with levels, and uh, it's not a big deal. Like it wasn't something
No.
horrible. It was just funny. Like, but I guess they didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, they're super family friendly, so yeah. Just seems weird to ban it for that long because of one thing, but oh well. But yeah, looks like there'll be a group doing the showcase in a couple weeks, so I'll definitely be around to see that. Excited to see what else there is, but speaking on past GDQs though, you've definitely been in a share of the Mario Maker races, so have any highlights from those?
Yeah, so I never did the ones with Maker One. There were two races in 2016, and I think that first GDQ race that's when a lot of people in my stream tell me, how did you get into Mario Maker? They say they saw that race. The game had probably been out. I think it had been out for like 5 months at that point. And it was like some still active people. Carl Sagan, Panga, Trihex were in it, but I think also like Andy, who never plays Mario Maker at all anymore, was in it. Maybe I think Virus. I don't think he plays at all anymore. I think he was in it. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. Oh, Bismuth was in it, I think, which he doesn't play anymore either. It's kind of wild to look at the roster and see who either just doesn't even stream anymore or they definitely don't play Mario Maker. But yeah, so then there were those two races, then there was that 2-year break, and I got tired of submitting and getting declined, so I was like, well, I'm not going to submit this year. I'm tired of the heartbreak. And then that GDQ was when the ban got lifted, so it got accepted. I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I submit this time?
Mm-hmm.
And they submitted a bonus incentive to show off like hard levels, like actual Kaizo, because you don't want to have that stuff in the blind level race because it would
Oh
be way
yeah.
too hard and go over estimate. But they had practiced these levels, and Cliffy, who was in the race, he held a contest on his stream. He said, "Send me the coolest, most realistic looking auto level." So you can build auto levels where you just don't press anything and it plays the level for you, or maybe you have to hold right and jump or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody built a cape level that had like doors, and if you didn't know any better, it looks like he's playing this cape level, flying around, doing all this crazy stuff. But if you're familiar with the game at all, you'd be like, "There's no way this looks like a task," because they put explosions, and it's like there's no way he's doing this.
It's an
So
auto thing.
he got up there and he said, "I'm gonna do this blindfolded," and so he put on a blindfold and he played the auto level, and people who know the game were like, "Oh, this is auto," but a lot of people did not, and the GDQ Twitter, they tweeted out like, "That was one of the most beautiful things I've seen. I'm in shock." Blah blah. I was like, "Oh no, did
No.
they believe it?"
That's really
So that was really
funny.
funny.
Oh my god.
There were arguments in the GDQ chat like, "He's crazy. He's so good," and they were like, "No, that's he's not doing that. It's automatic." But
I'll,
yeah, that
I'll,
was
I'll have
funny.
to watch it back. I want to see that.
I think it's either SGDQ 2018 or AGDQ 2019. I can't remember. But yeah.
Was at both of those events.
um,
You think I'd remember that?
it it was one of those two because, or maybe it could have been SGDQ 2019.
I
It was
was
right
not at that one.
before Maker 2 came out. I don't know. Um, yeah, then Maker 2 came out in 2019 June. So we submitted a race for the 2020 AGDQ. Um, right before the world went into chaos, so thankfully we got to actually go to the event. But yeah, it was a lot of kind of a crazy roster. Myself, Penga, Orator, Carl, Juzzcook, Barb, um, Grand Pooh Bear, and Ryukar. Um, and that was a lot of fun. It came down to the very, very end, and that was my first time playing in GDQ. One of my first times playing in front of any kind of actual audience. Um, and yeah, when you get up there, it's terrifying. Like it looks like even I've got a decent stream setup. I got lights and my mic, but you see the GDQ setup, and it's like this is a legit thing. There are hundreds of cables going everywhere,
Yeah.
and the room is bigger than it looks on the stream. Like the audience, it's a lot of people back there. It's pretty overwhelming, but it's definitely it feels good. Definitely very nervous, but um, yeah, it was awesome. I think the Mario Maker, it was either the first or second most viewed of that event, which it kind of always is, which is cool, but it was the first one for the new game, so that was really exciting. Uh and yeah, seeing the levels from it, they still hold up pretty well. It's I think the newest update hadn't come out yet. Yeah, it hadn't come out yet by that race, so it was missing. It did have the Link costume, but not like the SMB2 and things like that.
Yeah, it
Um,
was super new still. No updates.
but yeah, that was amazing. I think races like that are always really exciting, and I think they're trying to get more into like the relay race style, or not even a race, just the relay. Like, um, I don't know, they do like a Mega Man relay, or maybe Mario All Stars. I think they've done.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's cool. It kind of rapid fire, different games, different things. It's a good way for them to change it up over the years, you know?
Yeah. And the Mario Maker races are always fun because when someone dies, it's just musical chairs sprinting for the next person to have their attempt at it.
Yeah, that I think we said like we kind of didn't want to do that or something. I don't remember what it was. We were like, "Oh, we don't maybe the setup was hard or something." I don't know. We were like, "We don't want to do that." And they're like, "No, no, people love you guys jumping around the chairs. Like we got to have the musical chairs." And we're like, "Okay. Sure."
It's for the content.
And yeah, people really like that, and it's a workout. You don't think just standing up and sitting in a chair is hard, but the next year I'm like, "Oh, my legs are kind of sore."
Yeah. Well, we'll have a break this year for the showcase. It'll just be someone sitting down finally, but yeah, that the 2021 I do remember being in the room for that because it was at the very end. I had to stand because it had already like been super crowded because yeah, Mario Maker 2 being the big thing, it was like at the very end right before the finale. So, Yeah, had all the
Yeah,
big names. Yeah, it was a good showcase of that game, especially since it was pretty fresh. So
yeah, there was it's pretty cool too cuz we're like it's really hard like when you're playing the game at home and you die, you just instantly are like, "Oh, let me try again." But in those relay races, it's like I can't try. I got to pass the controller. Um so it's kind of like if you mess up, I would have to just pause the game for 2 minutes before I can try again.
hmm
And it would be hard to build up muscle memory, but it kind of gets balanced because they're watching and I'm like, hey, I died because I did a max height jump. Like you need to do a controlled jump or something. And we're kind of relaying information to each other. And I really like that aspect of it. I think that's one of the coolest parts about it is the information sharing. Like, uh, maybe like, hey, don't don't hold right at this or something like that. Something like that. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think the race was mostly Carl's idea, the original one, um, and it's held up. It's still very exciting when they still do it. I like it a lot.
yeah. I guess I didn't think about the specifics. Yeah, it's got to be like watching it. I guess you don't really think about relaying information. You're just seeing someone play the game, fail, and then next person's turn. But there's a lot into that. Building, everyone has to build up the same muscle memory over time, and you only get so much time with it. And then yeah, just being like, oh hey, this happened. Don't do this or do this or all in the moment when it's being quickly handed back and forth. I mean that takes a lot.
Yeah, and it's levels we've never seen. Like we've played a level, it's like, oh, this is SMB3. I know what Mario can do here, but some of the creators love to put like a Kaizo block or something, and so it's just like, oh, hey, don't jump into this hidden block, you're gonna die. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
do
you
love.
can kind of tell your next players like, hey, you saw that, right? Don't do that.
Yeah, I love like the in the blind races the instinct at the end to like jump early or something because there's totally going to be a Kaizo block there.
Yeah,
Obviously, so let's it's so funny. Years of pain, and you just have it's just an instinct now.
yeah. Some people play mind games now where if you jump normally, you're fine, but if you jump early, like
Oh,
to
then you get
avoid what you
Kaizo.
think is the troll, you get trolled.
Oh
So
no.
it's turned into like a chess match of how smart is this creator.
Mm, that's really funny. Gosh. But yeah, those races are always really fun. And then I know there's a recent one. I saw that one with the glitches. We talked about that. That was good. And then yeah, it's either that or like the Mario World uh blind stuff. Have you done were you a part of any of the Mario World stuff?
No, I wasn't a part of those. I think I tested. No, I tested for Mario Maker the year I couldn't do it.
Mm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was a third Mario Maker 2 race, and I wasn't around for it. So there's been 3 of those. Yeah, I tested the levels for that race. But yeah, no, I've never been a part of the Mario World ones. Um, those they submit a lot less because it's a lot easier to build a level in Mario Maker than Mario World in general, but for those levels especially, they're coding up new mechanics that literally don't exist yet, which I'm sure
Yeah.
takes a really long time. And it's also just an old game, and they got to make sure this thing's not going to break live on the stage. So the testing's got to be insane, I guess. I don't know when they're doing it again. I know they want to, but uh, maybe soon. I don't know.
Yeah, those are always pretty unique because you really anything can happen with that because you're it's not like you're just using a level creator. You're like hacking the game. You can whatever your experience is, you can just make whatever you want to do happen. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it's it's very cool because I don't know, it's like even in Mario World where you can literally at this point if you know how to code it, you can add it to the game. It's still I've played that a lot too and I'm like, yeah, I've seen most of these tricks, but there was one level at the last SMW race and it used something on the SNES called Mode 7, I think. Maybe Super Mario Kart uses it.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know what that is, but that's what they were talking about. But it like that level was the craziest thing I'd seen. I loved it. It kind of like changed the slope and camera perspective. I don't even know how to describe it,
Mm,
but yeah, it was really really cool. But usually all of them are really cool.
yeah. Have you dabbled with a lot of the SMW hacks? Because I know there's a kind of a correlation between people that play Mario Maker and Mario World hacking stuff.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit of it at this point, but I definitely most, not really most, but a lot of people who play Mario World or build levels in it are former Mario Maker players, and they either got bored of Mario Maker or they like that physics engine better. Mario World is like driving a sports car, and Mario Maker is like driving a big rig truck because if you want to change your direction in Mario World, it just instantly happens. In Mario Maker, it's kind of a you got to slow down then turn around. I like both. Uh, yeah, I've played a lot of Mario World at this point. It's definitely different when I first started. If you wanted to kind of learn how to play Kaizo ROM hacks, the easiest thing that was really out there was the original Kaizo Mario World, which
Mhm.
is kind of tough for a beginner. But nowadays, people have made like, training hacks and really, really easy beginner friendly hacks, and it's way more accessible. But yeah, I like both, and it's certainly, they look the same, but playing them, you can tell it would literally be like playing SMB1 and then being like SMB3 is the same physics engine. Like, no,
Oh no,
they
not
may
even
look
close.
similar, but they are very, very, very different.
Hmm.
So until you actually control both at a high level, it's hard to, I guess, see that just by glancing at the screen.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. You got any good hack highlights you've played around with?
um, well, recently we kind of had our community reinvigoration, I guess. Barb released his hack Grand Poo World 3, which kind of everybody was playing at the same time, and it was really good.
Yeah, the Pooh
And
Worlds always get a lot of hype surrounding them.
Yeah, and it's kind of made people come back. Like I've seen some streamers just I haven't seen them live in years, and suddenly they're playing SMW, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Um, and I think Penga, he's one of the like grandfathers of ROM hacking, like the original people in at least Kaizo ROM hacks.
Hmm.
I think he's finally started building levels again, which
Damn.
is crazy because he hasn't touched the game in ages, but I guess
Yeah,
he
he's been
felt
doing
inspired.
like rhythm game stuff from what I've seen. I haven't seen any Kaizo or Mario Maker, Mario World, anything like that in a good while. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, he does play Mario Maker, but it's not for long.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure
he
he's
likes this game
exhausted
called
it.
Sound
So
Voltex. It's actually
okay.
a really cool rhythm game, but yeah, that's probably what you've seen him play.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, it's cool that these big hacks get the community back interested in everything, at least for a little bit. Because I mean, it's so interesting what you can do with them, and God, just
Yeah,
thinking
for
about it,
sure.
so many of the stuff they require you to execute is just ludicrous.
Yeah, and it's grown so much that it wasn't super common for people to make their own custom things, like maybe a custom block or uh, maybe some very bare bones custom mechanics. Um, only there were only a few people who were really, really, really smart who were doing much. But nowadays, there's so many just brand new things coming out, and it keeps the game fresh. Like if you're like, I want something nobody's ever seen, you can just make it. Like
Hmm.
you want a boss that's brand new. You know, just as long as you know how to code, you can do it. And I think that's the main draw for me is playing hacks gets me to see things that definitely aren't in Mario Maker. Um,
Yeah.
it's uh it's cool, and the level editor for Mario World is called Lunar Magic. It's way, way, way harder than Mario Maker, but it's still probably compared to any ROM hack scene out there. Super Mario World is the most accessible. Like I don't know much about hacking for most games, but I have seen some Mario 64 hacking stuff, and it looks like they're building a full game. Like
Hmm.
when they're making a hack, I'm like, this looks so complicated. Um, so it's pretty cool. I guess that helps with how popular hacks are. Is just if you sit down for maybe a week or two, you can figure out the level editor, and it's pretty intuitive. Uh, Building your own custom things is a lot harder, but
Hmm.
yeah, I hope it keeps growing.
Yeah, it's definitely just gotten more and more popular over the years. Like, there's so many hacks on SMW Central, which is the website you can download all the patches for yourself if anyone's interested. So, plenty to choose
Right.
from. And it's not just Kaizo, there's tons of like perfectly casual hacks that are essentially just like full Mario World games as well.
Yeah, that's true. There's way more just normal hacks out there than Kaizo. It's just a lot of the streamers like to play Kaizo because I like to push the limits, but there's so many just games that you could be like, this could just be Super Mario World 2 if you didn't
Hmm.
know any better. It's looks
Yeah,
like regular levels that Nintendo would have made.
except more fun. Because remember, Nintendo doesn't like fun.
That is true.
But yeah, so check out that site if you've never visited it. Good content to find. Um, I want to go back to speedrunning a little bit here because I do know that you've done SMB1 a little bit.
I did, yeah. So, um, it wasn't initially it wasn't really like, oh, I'm going to get into SMB1. It was Darbian and Cosmic used to do the Mario Hour challenge,
Mm,
play the 2D games in Mario 64. I was like, that seems really cool. I want to try that. I'm already pretty decent at Mario 64. I've never speedran it, but I used to play ROM hacks. So I was just going to go in order. I was like, I'll start with SMB1. So I'd do the Fire Flower route. I think it's like 10 or 12 seconds slower, but it's so much easier to just get through the game cleanly. And I was like, I want to get a sub 510 with this fire flower. I'm pretty sure I did it. But I was playing on the Wii U Virtual Console, which I don't know if you've ever played it. It has like half a second of input lag or something like that. It's horrible.
Mhm.
Um, uh, yeah, I remember. I played on a CRT later. I was like, oh, I speedrun this game. I was with my friend, and it felt like Mario was jumping before I pressed the button. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is awful. How did? Well, actually, that was good. I was playing on the awful setup, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. So then I played Super Mario Bros. 2, the US version. I was like, all right, I'll learn this next. And I hated that game so much that I was like, I no longer want to do the Mario Hour, and I gave up.
Damn.
But I did like it speedrunning SMB1. I feel like getting a sub 5 is kind of like the traditional goal. Like it would be fun to go for that someday.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, sub 510 with Fireflower isn't easy. It's easier than some other things, but I mean, that takes time. So, that's
Yeah, I
pretty
routed
impressive.
in the wall jump in 8-4. I don't know if I got that in my PB, but I would always go for it. Um, the wrong
Respect.
warp in 4-2 is a lot easier if you're big Mario. I never had to do the like crazy bumps or anything.
You just get pushed by the or the short ceiling.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, getting a sub 5 is, if you're pretty good at video games, you could eventually do that with all the stuff that's known nowadays. It'd be a fun goal to go for.
Yep. Yeah, just make sure you're playing on an NES so you don't get affected by frame rates.
Right, yeah.
Just
But yeah, that
console
was
or
part of the
emulator.
Mario Hour challenge, and it always seems so fun, but I do not like SMB2. I
Yeah.
hated it.
That's a hit
I
or
don't
miss
think
speed
I ever
run.
played it as a kid, but ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the speed run is quite different. And I like, once they added the SMB2 shroom to Mario Maker, I was like, this is kind of fun to play around with. So
hmm
maybe I should give that game another chance.
it is really hard to learn. Mario 2 is no joke. It's like high level, watching high level Mario 2 is crazy what they can do with that because everything is just so hard.
Yeah, I've seen Cool Kid. He used to do the, I guess, world record attempts, and what I had seen was Darbian doing the Mario Hour, where he takes it way safer. So seeing his, how different his run was to the Darbian Mario Hour run, I was like, oh my god, this is insane. How much faster this is,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's very, very, very hard too.
Oh yeah. It's a tough one. Mario Hour is definitely something I've done one run of Mario Hour. It was like an hour 9 minutes with a terrible Mario 64 because 1 star is hard. SPLJ
Yeah.
is it's a bit tricky, but it's definitely a fun challenge, so I'd recommend it. But yeah, Mario 2 is definitely one of the harder games in that uh selection of games, especially if you're going into it for the first time. But the hardest is going to be Mario 64 just because of SPLJ by itself. But yeah, I'd say Mario 2 is probably the second hardest in that group.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Mario 3, um, well, you can make that speed run hard, but I think taking things safe
Yeah.
would probably be one of the easier ones, and SMW, the glitch they do, like, well, there's the cloud, which is a little hard, but
Yeah,
if
but
you
you
do the
can just go
orb, it's,
glitchless. It's fine.
yeah. And if you do the orb glitch, there's a setup that makes it basically guaranteed, so, uh, and then Lost Levels is just a really hard game, but It's the same
Yeah.
physics for the most part as Mario 1, so it wouldn't have been too crazy to learn, I feel.
Yeah, it's not a hard run to learn. Um, it's really not as hard as people make it out to be. But yeah, if you're going in casually blind, yeah, it's gonna be difficult. But if you kind of know what you're doing, yeah, 2J isn't too bad. But 2U is like, damn, that's a hard one to go into.
Yeah, I don't know. I I need to play it again to see if I have the same opinion. I hated digging. I
Hmm.
thought the digging was dumb and I would get hit by enemies because I didn't understand how they would fall.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that is a problem.
there's some level where you got to dig way down to get a key and then jump back up. I don't know which one, but
That's 6-1.
yeah, I was like, I don't like this. I want to quit playing this game. And
On the bright side, that's the only level you have to dig in the any percent run. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that sounds right. So now if you're playing all levels, that would suck. But any percent, you don't have to dig nearly as much.
yeah, I I need to play it again. It's been, I think, 6 or 7 years at this point. So
Hmm.
I'm also
Well,
just better at Mario these days.
hmm well, Mario Hour is good stream content. So whenever you're up to it, there you go.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have done it now that are bigger names. There's been some overlap in like people that play Mario Maker too. I know Ryukar has done it, but it was like unverifiable the way he did it. And then Slade was into some Mario Maker stuff, and he like almost primarily streams that challenge now.
Yeah, and people have gotten so good at it, they're now speed running Mario Hour. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
it's
the
pretty
hour
low
is not
now.
good enough. It's we want to optimize
Yeah,
this,
it's
which
53 minutes now, and just getting Mario Hour is hard. So the fact that it's that
yeah.
low is pretty crazy, especially tacking on that SPLJ at the end. There's so much variance there. You have to play super well, including getting like good RNG from SMP3. If you're like at a top level, you just have to do that, and then have to suffer through the incredibly difficult SM64 stuff. It's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was always exciting though. Like it's a very good way to end the challenge, especially because most people doing that, they probably play or speed run one of those 2D games, and then they throw in Mario 64, and they're like, "Oh, I suck at this. This game doesn't make sense." And so it was always funny to see people get there and struggle through it, but then eventually they'd get the SBLJ, and it'd be enough.
And then it gets hype. Once you go through that door, it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
It's when everyone rushes in to watch. Yeah, definitely an exciting challenge. So I'm glad to see a lot of people have picked it up. I'll definitely have to come back to it myself. So yeah, it's a cool challenge. So it's funny to learn that that's why you learned SMB1, because that is the only like classic Mario game I saw on your SRC profile. I was like, oh shit, hey, Mario 1.
yeah, yeah. The big game I actually speed ran for more than a while was Super Meat Boy, but
SMB.
yeah, both SMB games. I played Super Meat Boy when it was like brand new and it was really cool, but back then I didn't know, oh, maybe I should play this game again and go faster. That just wasn't a thought in my head. But then when I got into streaming, I was like, I wonder if people speedrun Super Meat Boy. I love that game. And I was like, oh, they do. So I learned the run. And around the time I was learning it, there was a glitch discovered, pause buffering. I don't remember how it works now. I think you hold jump, pause, let go of jump, and then unpause, something like that. And it tricks the game to press jump on every frame. So basically, it like turns it into an auto jump. and there were a lot of skips that were really, really hard, and now people could do them pretty consistently because they were auto jumping. And I was like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. It's like I got to keep pausing the game, which interrupts the flow just to do this trick. Like, yeah, we can get this harder skip now, but it doesn't feel good. And if I went back in time, I would have just kept playing and just not done that. But I kind of felt like, oh, I have to learn this pause buffer glitch. I have to do it. Everybody's doing it. And I just lost interest and just kind of died out. But yeah, I always wanted to get a sub 20 time. I think they're at like 17 something now, but sub 20 is very hard to do in that game. It's a lot of fun. I love that physics engine. It's something they didn't do in the Super Meat Boy Forever. It's a pretty big disappointment, but
Mm.
yeah, it's that was my big game. I speed ran it for maybe, I don't know, half a year, which isn't all that long in speed running terms, but for me, that's the longest I've had, and
It's a good amount of
maybe
time.
I'll get back to it someday. But for now, there's a lot of things I'm like, maybe I'll do this someday, but no, it never happens.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, maybe. And then I know you can like kind of speedrun Mario Maker when it comes to like whether they're like the custom worlds or Mario Maker 2 has like that story mode thing even.
Yeah, there's a story mode in Mario Maker. You can. When they announced that when the game was coming out, I was very excited because I was like, well, this is going to be like, a full 2D Mario game with Nintendo building their cool levels. Um, kind of like New Super Mario Bros. 5 or something, but you get in and you play it, and it's just gimmicks or showing off. Here's how to wall jump, and it's do 2 wall jumps, and that's the level. And but it's
Woo.
not really a game. It's more a here's how the builder works and how the game works. Um, a lot of auto scrollers too.
Mm.
But yeah, it's people do speedrun it, and I think they've had it either at GDQ or maybe it was on the hot fix. I've seen it on their channel before. I know I have. Um, but yeah, some people they in the final update to the game they added this thing called Super Worlds where you can kind of fit your levels into a world and you can have an overworld, and it's very bare bones and it's okay. You can't have like secret exits or anything like that. So it doesn't feel like you're playing a game, and it seems like they kind of like the SMB2 shroom. Maybe it was just an unfinished feature that they were like, well, we have
Yeah.
this much of it, we may as well add it to the game. Um, yeah, you could speed run those. It's not something people really do though. Um, Nintendo had a feature in Maker 2 called Ninja Speedruns, which was really cool.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Um, so they would build levels that they tried to make them have like multiple ways to beat them, and maybe it's more obscure what the fastest path would be. And then you'd play it, and there'd be these ninja ghosts that would be flying through the level, and it was other players' previous runs. And it was really cool. When they would drop a new one of those, everybody would rush in, and we'd try to figure out how do we get through this, what's the fastest way, and everything. Um, and Yeah, they stopped doing that, and what I think would be cool is they should add those ninjas to literally every level in the game. Let us just
Mm.
ninja speed run everything we find. I think that would be really cool. Um, yeah,
That would be interesting. Yeah, I never
It was the
messed with the
one.
Ninja stuff, so I'm not quite sure how it looked. I just know there was a leaderboard aspect to it. That was pretty competitive.
Um, well, it's like kind of like in Mario 35, you see all the other people playing at the same time, but
Hmm.
or no, I'm thinking of that Mario 100 or did you see that Mario fan
Yeah,
battle royale a
I
long time
played
ago?
that. Yeah, I played a lot of
It's
that.
kind of like that, but you're seeing kind of like a ghost run, like in a racing game. You can watch your time
Hmm.
trial ghosts. It would be everybody's ghost all at once, and it'd clutter the screen. You could turn them off, but yeah, it was really cool, and it was one of the times where Nintendo embraced competitive competition. Like they don't usually like that. They don't want
Hmm.
you being a pro at their game. So it was really cool.
Nintendo hates fun. Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
cool.
no competition, no esports. Let's have fun with your family on the couch. Our games are casual.
Casual only. But yeah, I know like a lot of top Mario Maker players would win or at least get like in the pretty high times for some of those speed runs, and then at one point you could like win stuff if you got a high enough or good enough time.
Yeah, there was a Mario's 35th anniversary. There was a competition they did. I don't remember. You had to place in the top 25 or something, but they gave people these coins
Well, there you go.
that I don't remember. I think it was the top 25 in North America, top 100 in Japan, top 100 in Europe, something like that. But yeah, I won one of the coins. It was always fun to do those, and that was cool. That doesn't seem like something Nintendo would do. Nintendo mailed me a prize. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like that's unheard of. They don't.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
was very fun. I wish they'd do more of that. But yeah, it's can only guess what they're doing next. Nobody knows. Nobody ever knows.
Hmm. How useful are the level comments in the games?
Uh, so comments. I like comments a lot. I don't have them on these days, but one thing that's happening lately is people build their dumb levels with like pick a door. Like here's 4 doors. Good luck. 3 of them kill you. So you'll just leave a comment like, "Hey, it's door 2," and then so it messes with those little kids building their dumb levels like that.
Get
Uh,
wrecked. That's
but
funny.
yeah, it's uh, it's really cool because you can draw comments, and this is something I
Oh
did a
yeah.
lot when the game came out, but I don't do it anymore. I should go back. I should go back into comments, but yeah, some people draw really, really, really cool stuff. It's kind of like Mario Paint, basically built into the game. Um, and you could sit there for hours drawing a comment, hoping somebody sees it. And sometimes when I would look at my levels, somebody draws something that I know took them at least an hour to do, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've always just had them off whenever I played because they always seem kind of intrusive. It depends because there's good at comments and then, people can just spam nonsense.
yeah, it's usually not too bad, but if you get into a level that has any kind of popularity, it's just comments flooding the screen and you can't see what you're doing. Actually, my first video of Mario Maker ever, I didn't know you could turn comments off. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I was playing Penga's Skyzo level, and there's just comments everywhere, and somehow I was getting through it. I wasn't very good at the game back then either, and It's funny seeing that there's the whole screen is just pictures and text,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's when the level's popular, they're a disaster. But sometimes disaster's fun.
I guess it can be. It's at least entertaining to the viewer.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
all that
people like
matters,
to
right?
watch it.
Yeah. Um, have you made any sick levels in the games?
Oh yeah, I've made all kinds of great levels. No, I've made a couple levels that I'm proud of. Uh, when Mario Maker 2 came out, I tried to build some tutorial levels to teach people mechanics, like high level mechanics of the NSMBU style. And a lot of people tell me those help them a lot, but yeah, it takes a long, long, long time to build an actual good level, and
Mm-hmm.
so I do have a lot of levels in the game, but they're mostly just dumb. Like I don't know, I have my own sense of humor. My favorite is called Luigi's Existential Crisis. Uh,
Awesome.
so the Mario Bros. 1 cave theme, the background is literally just the color black. There's no variation or anything. So you get on a platform that moves and you can't tell if you're moving or not because the background is just black the entire time, and I don't know. It's just a dumb thing, but I thought it was funny. But yeah, I upload stupid stuff like that nobody would care to play, but they're up there. I'm able to upload a level, so I may as well.
Yeah. I mean, the comedy ones are still good. It doesn't always have to be crazy Kaizo or whatever. I mean, you can do a lot in that game, so there's a lot of creativity to be shown.
Yeah. Um yeah, and it's definitely the game needs people to be building really cool stuff, so I'm thankful that I don't like building levels much at all, but
Have all the
other people
others do it
do.
for you.
So a lot of people who the like best builders in the game who build a lot and frequently and are really good, they don't really play the game. They only build, and I'm like, that's the opposite of me. I only want to play. I don't want to build. So I guess it's good that both of us are out there. It makes the game work.
It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, and it's it's cool. There's still, if you go to the new courses to this day, the game's 4 years old. They haven't updated it in like 3 years. There's still dozens and dozens coming in. Like if you refresh, it'll be a brand new page of levels. So people are building them. Most of them are awful and probably built by a child, but they're still coming in.
Oh
Um,
yeah. You got
it's
any specific levels that stand out that you've played throughout your career?
um there is that would be really hard to say.
Yeah, I guess it is a convoluted question. There's a lot of
There's a
content out
pretty
there.
there's a pretty I guess there's all kinds of genres in the game. I think one of the like most influential levels was a troll level actually,
Hmm.
and nowadays I am fed up with troll levels. I'm tired of it. Like stop trolling me. I don't want this. But there was a level by a guy named Draculantern called Seven Trolly Pieces. So there was a there's a way in Mario Maker to have like an infinite checkpoint setup because you can only build 2 checkpoints, but you can build like a challenge room with a red coin, and then you get back-to-back checkpoints, so you can just keep looping over those same 2 checkpoints. So it was really popular to build like all these challenge rooms, and you have to get the red coins, and Um, then after you get them all, you go in the key door and win. But the checkpoint system saves your progress every time you get a red coin, which is it's really creative. So Draculaner was like, well, I'm going to do this for a troll level. And so you'd go in his rooms and they were trolly, like Kaizo blocks or, whatever. I don't remember the specifics, but the level ends and you finally beat all these troll rooms and you're like, oh, that sucked. I hated that. And then you go in the key door and it turns out the flag is hidden there by a vine and you just could have touched the flag the whole time. You didn't have to do any of the red coins. And that's such a common
Awesome.
trope now in troll levels is there's all this horrible stuff to get red coins, but it turns out you didn't need them. But that was the first one to do that, and it blew our minds. We were like, the goal was right there. I can't believe it. Like, uh, I think all the popular creators played that. It was a big deal. Yeah, 7 trolley pieces.
That's such a simple troll too, but
Yeah,
it's funny
it's
how impactful that is.
nobody had that idea that we know of before that. It's so creative, and if you play even today when you play troll levels, if you see red coins, you're like, do I actually need to get these or are they just fake? Um, Sometimes, yeah, there's just really creative people that have done something that has stuck around to this day as a level trope. Like, uh, we got frustrated in Maker 2. In Mario Maker 1, we would play these crazy hard levels and you could download them and then open them up and just practice them. It was very easy, kind of like having save states
Oh
built
yeah.
in a way. In Maker 2, they just got rid of that. You couldn't do it anymore. And we're like, well, this
What?
sucks.
They hate
Um,
fun.
But I believe the first person I saw do this was Space Pig. He built doors in his level that jump you to different spots in the level so that you could practice. And it was set up in a way that if you didn't play from the very start, you couldn't win.
Hmm.
There were just practice doors to kind of bring that back, let us have like save states in a way. And I would have never thought to do that, but it seems so simple now. Like everybody does that in their crazy levels. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, there's all kinds of just level tropes like that that people more creative than I have changed the game forever. And uh, it's it's definitely just it takes one person to have a unique idea, and it can make everything different.
Yeah. Those are really. I mean, the way to have save states. That's really cool. Like, how do they? Do you know how they set it up so you can't beat? You can practice level, but you can't beat it without
Um, A
like.
really common way is if the practice doors will be they'll be like up somewhere you have to jump to, and to go in the door you have to flip an on off switch, and then um so if you started from the door you would have flipped the on off state, and when you get to the end the goal is blocked off by blocks that would have been gone
Mm,
if you didn't do that. Or maybe there's a key door at the end, and if you go in the practice door, then you didn't collect all the coins to get in the key door, so you can't go in. Sometimes people don't do it well enough, and you find a way to cheese it,
mhm.
and they get really mad, probably. But it's a good concept. Like it's not as good as it used to be, but it made it way more bearable because the like if you had to practice the 8-4 wall jump, and then if you failed, you had to go back to 1-1, and you can't try again until you get back. Like that would suck. Like so, that's kind of what happened with Maker 2.
Yeah, that'd be awful. I'm I'm glad people got around that issue. Well, So much creativity in Mario Maker. It's cool to see. Like even when it's just like not even just basic. Here's a cool thing I did in my level. Here's a cool thing that can like affect every level forever now.
Yeah. Uh, s- Especially in the troll community, there's so many things like that. I think a problem for me with trolls is once you've seen it once, it's kind of on your radar. Like a big one is this thing. Uh, so Carl Sagan, he loves troll levels, and I don't know how it started, but they started calling him Laurel, and so somebody made a level called Laurel Sagan Thinks Twice Twice, and what happened is he got in the level. It was a troll level, and he learned all the traps, dodged them, and then he got a checkpoint, and it took him back to the start of the level, and he's like, "Why am I back here?" And so he started playing, and the level shifted, and now what he thought was this trap before has changed to something completely different, and it looks identical, but now the level plays again, and so now when you're in a troll level, there's this concept called twice twice, where it's like you're in the same room, but now it's different, and yeah, it's that one level. Somebody had the extremely creative idea, and now a lot of troll level makers do the same concept. And there was a level that it was just this horrible trolly mess, and like, what is this? It's awful. You get to the end, and it tells you this was an auto level. You have to hold jump up and right or something, and it turns out you can just beat the level without touching anything, and
Hmm.
it's so cool. Like those people are awesome. They're very creative. It's, Nintendo definitely probably didn't envision that kind of idea of just placing these items down to let us play around with. So it's really neat.
So the most recent idea thing you said, is it like it's a troll level, so you can beat it, but if you like play it that way, you can't beat it. The only way to beat it is to do this auto way.
No, it's you can beat it, but then you can also beat it by just not pressing
Okay.
anything, and it would have saved you an hour had you known that or something. It does not look like the level is that way.
Hmm.
Usually an auto level, you're like, this definitely looks impossible unless you don't press anything. This was just a normal old level, but um,
That's
yeah, it
funny.
was really creative.
Okay,
I'm
well
sure it.
then I think it would be funnier if you played through it, but you can't beat it unless for some reason you do it the auto way. I don't know how that worked, but it would be funny. That'd be the ultimate troll.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe somebody will have that idea.
I'm putting it out there for free. Feel free to use it. Yeah, that's really funny. Um, have you for speedrunning, have you done any other like games or anything that we haven't talked about?
Uh, so I hopped on the Mario Wonder hype train. Like
Choo choo.
I played it, and then I was like, "Oh man, this is fun! I want to speed run it." And I routed out 100%. I made a guide that probably has a lot of outdated things in it now because when a new game comes out, everybody thinks they've got the fastest strat and all the tech, but obviously that's not true at all. But I did one run, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but yeah, I I loved Wonder, and it has a lot of cool speed tech, especially with the bubble outfit. But I just lost interest in it. Um, yeah, I haven't. I still like to watch speed running, but it just feels like getting into a speed run when you're not in school with a lot more free time. It's like do I want to learn a speed run? Like, I mean, you can just do it for fun, but I guess me personally, I don't want to just do it for fun. I want to be competitive also.
Mhm.
I don't want to just be like, yeah, I beat it and it was kind of fast. I would want to optimize and learn, the highest level strats and everything, but certain skips, like the flagpole glitch, if I wanted to learn that, it's not something I'd learn in 10 minutes, like it would be really, really hard to even get it once. And so
Yeah.
it's hard to want to do that, I guess. It's like, oh, I want to keep playing Mario Maker or Mario World or the Nintendo 64.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, learning a speed run, especially at high level, takes a lot of time, so makes sense to put your time into other means. But
Yeah, definitely. It's not really like you can learn a speed run pretty quickly and even get pretty decent at it, but I guess my nature, I want to compete with the best players as well. I don't want to just kind of do it pretty well, and I just don't have time, I guess. It's definitely tough, and the longer the game goes on, the more optimized it gets. Every time somebody gets a new world record or somebody finds something new.
yeah. Well, I guess we should talk about the big project you're doing now, which is every single Nintendo 64 game.
Yeah, yeah, I'm currently at 242 games in, I think.
Wow.
Um, I've recently been playing this stupid Japanese horse racing game that everybody has been begging to end. I started in September, I think, but I did beat it a few days ago. It took
Ooh,
134 hours, I think.
jeez.
Yeah, yeah, the project started, I was actually just playing Donkey Kong because Nintendo released that Switch Online, Super Nintendo, and NES. I was like, oh, I want to try playing Donkey Kong. Um, so I played DKC 1, 2, and 3, and everybody was like, don't play DK64, it sucks. Don't do it. And I was like, I played that. That's a good game. What are you talking about? They're like, no, it
Mhm.
sucks. I was like, I want to play it and show you guys. This is fun. And I got really nostalgic for the N64. I was like, I miss this, man. This was my childhood. And so I was just like, I want to play these games. And everybody's like, well, you got to play Jet Force Gemini and Star Wars, blah, blah. And I'm like, I've never heard of those. What are those?
Mhm.
I was like, it's somehow turned into we're going to play every game. That way, all these you're suggesting, I'm going to play those as well. And it's been really cool. Make a video on every game, and people like them a lot. There's certainly some incredibly awful, horrible games. They're so bad that nobody should ever play them. They should be forgotten. But there's been some games I'd never heard of that are really cool. There's a game called Rocket Robot on Wheels. It's made by Sucker Punch Studios, who made Sly Cooper and Ghost of Tsushima. It's their very first game. I'd never heard of it, and I'm like, this is one of the smoothest platformers I've ever played. This is amazing. Like, it's so good, especially considering how old it is. Um, so it's been cool to play unknown games that I know some people are heard of those games, but there's obviously like I haven't played Jet Force Gemini. That's a rare game, so a lot of people are familiar with that. But the community's kind of discovering all these games together. We're seeing, this is cool. This is cool. This game didn't sell well at all, but it's actually pretty cool. or maybe the game wasn't appreciated back in the day, but nowadays it is. Like people probably loved like the Madden games back then. They were probably like, "This feels realistic," and play Madden in 64 today, and you're like, "This is trash. This is so bad." Uh, but yeah, it's cool. Definitely on average, the games are pretty bad, but the good ones make it worth it for sure. Um,
That's good.
and yeah, the Japanese library. There's been a few games that I wish we got here. I don't know why we didn't. Like Sin and Punishment is a 3D on rails shooter that you can play it now on the Nintendo Switch online. But yeah, it was never released here. I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is such a good game. And I ask people about it, unless they're really in the know of the N64, they're like, no, I've never heard of that. I'm like, you should play it. It's really good. Um, yeah, I think it's just cool from like an historical aspect, like learning about these old games that most people would never see, they've never seen. Uh, and kind of documenting them in a way like maybe I played a game called Rat Attack. Didn't sell well. If you wanted to go buy a cartridge, it's super expensive because hardly anybody had it. Like, I made a video on that, and most people were like, I've never heard of this in my life. And now, if somebody wants to learn about Rat Attack, they can go see that. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just kind of document the library.
I definitely like the idea of making a video for each game that's like a condensed version of the playthrough of it and explaining what goes into it. So
Yeah,
that's
for
really
sure.
cool.
It's kind of like a hybrid of like it's a let's play and a review at the same time. It actually wasn't I didn't have the idea to make the video. My editor, Craw, he thought, hey, we should make a video about these games. And I was like, no, I only want to upload Mario Maker videos. Nobody wants to watch that. And he was like, you should do it. And so we kind of threw ideas back and forth of how it should look like. And if you watch the really old videos of the challenge, they're a lot different than they look nowadays. But yeah, I kind of just talk about my playthrough, short and condensed, but I also do a little bit of aspect of reviewing the game along the way. I kind of take it as if, what if this game came out right now, like ignoring, I guess, how it looks graphically, but is
Yeah.
this still fun? Like, could you sit down right now and play this? Would you still enjoy it? And sometimes people agree with me, sometimes they don't. People think I've tarnished their childhood favorite game. I've ruined their childhood. I'm like, you can still play it and have fun. I just didn't like it,
How
you
dare
know?
you have your own opinion?
We like different things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, a lot of the sports games, like, I'm sure they were really cool back then because it was probably the most technologically advanced sports game you'd ever seen. But nowadays we've seen better, so they're not good anymore. NFL Blitz is still good though.
There you go. There's the sports game to get for the Nintendo 64. Um, so are you just trying to like see the credits or what's the end goal for each game?
Uh, yeah. So a lot of games, it's pretty obvious. Like, here's how you beat it. Like Mario 64, you got to beat Bowser.
Hmm.
But then I guess you can say, well, do you have to get all 120 stars? In that case, I would say, well, we have to beat Bowser because that rolls the credits. But if it's a good game or a more popular, I'll usually do a lot of the extra content because it's less time playing a bad game. If the game's good, I want to keep playing it because we know what some of the bad ones are. But yeah, and then the sports games, usually those don't roll the credits, so it's just let's just win the championship, like the Super Bowl or NBA championship or whatever. Um, there's some games like Tetris. You just play Tetris and that's it. It's like, how do you beat that? So sometimes we'll just come up with, we'll kind of talk about what we should do to consider it beat. Sometimes people think I didn't do enough or I needed to do more, but for the most part, it's just good to show the game off, try to show a lot of it off, and feel like we achieved something. Um, yeah, it's definitely not always set in stone. It's like a Banjo Kazooie or something like that.
So, do you just like randomly decide what to play? I assume you have like a little randomizer.
Yeah, the next game is always random, so we have no clue what's coming next. I don't know if you've seen the Marbles on Stream program.
I've used
Um,
it.
yeah, so they have a feature in there where you can have like bot marbles and you can assign them
Oh,
names.
that's funny.
Uh, hang on a sec.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty clever way of doing that.
So like all the marbles get assigned the name of a game, and whichever one wins, that's what we're playing. Um, it's pretty fun to watch. There was a big running gag where Ocarina of Time kept finishing in second place, and people would get mad.
That's really
But
funny.
then it did finally win. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, there's a lot of console challengers out there. Some people are doing like playing the games in the order they came out, which is cool as well. Some maybe they let their chat vote what's next or something like that. Um, but it's cool. I like watching people do those because it's usually obscure games. It's easy to find a playthrough of the real popular games or the Superman, the real bad game, but I like seeing the obscure that you would never see if somebody didn't do something like this.
Yeah. So, are you doing every official, like officially licensed US and Japan game then? Is that what the list
Yeah,
is?
so well actually, so I got my list of games from Wikipedia. I was just like, what are all the games? And there were 393, but apparently since I've started, somebody's edited that sheet. So I guess now there's only 388. They
Hmm.
got rid of some like reskinned games in other regions, but I'm keeping my list how it was at the start. But yeah, the official licensed ones. There is one game called 40 Winks.
Yeah, I've heard.
It came out on the PlayStation, and they finished it on the N64, but they didn't want to pay to ship the carts, get the carts made, and everything, so it never came out. Um, and then in 2019, I think, I don't know the name of the studio, but they bought the rights to the code and they published the game. So I was like, this is kind of an official release. Like, it was
Yeah,
supposed to be out. They just didn't want to pay for the carts. So I included that one anyway.
that's good. Yeah, I love the I think on the PlayStation cover of the game, there's a quote that says "Move over Mario," and it's quoted from like a Nintendo magazine. So they made it look like really out of context, like, "Ha ha, ha, this game is great."
Oh, okay.
It's just funny history stuff, but yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I don't know how many like unlicensed games came out for the Nintendo 64. I know there was like a ton when it comes to like the NES and stuff. So I was trying to
Yeah,
see
there's
where
not
the list falls.
there's not really much of that at all. Like, I guess you'd call them official unlicensed games. Like nowadays, you can make ROM hacks like crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know the NES and definitely the Atari just had so many people just throwing junk games out that uh, were not verified by Nintendo at all, and I don't know that that happened on the N64 really, like with actual carts being made and shipped out. There's a decently famous ROM hack of one of the FIFA games called Ronaldinho Soccer that they had in Brazil. But I don't know if that's like a modern ROM hack or if that was actually being circulated back in the day.
Yeah, those are like the two unlicensed games I know is 40 Winks and that, and I only know that because it became a huge meme with its title screen
Yeah.
opening.
Yeah, I don't think there are any like cartridges that were being produced. I guess nobody wanted to do it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. What about the disk drive games? Do those count?
So the disk drive is weird. I'm thinking about doing it at the end, just kind of like a bonus thing. There's literally 10 total games, so it
Yeah.
would be quick, but a lot of them are like it's kind of like Adobe Photoshop like
Yeah, the
a
Mario Artist
game.
series.
So I'm like, is it even worth showing? And the disk drive sucks. I hate it. It's a failure. It kind of ruined the N64. And the N64 is still great, but when I'm reading the history of these games, it's like this game was initially going to be for the disk drive, but 70% of the content had to be cut. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. So
Yeah, an
I don't like to
unfortunate
talk about the
failure.
disk drive, but
That's
I
fair.
think I will do it at the end. It wouldn't take long at least.
Yeah, I know the EverDrive can let you play disk drive games to some extent. I don't know
Yeah,
if they're like
they
ROM.
recently got that to work on a normal console. I'd
Yeah.
like to try to play on a real disk drive, but it's not cheap
Oh,
at
yeah, I can't
all.
imagine. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. Because I know there was a F-Zero X expansion that was pretty cool. There was the Mario Artist line. There was some like weird giant game. That's like all I can think of.
Yeah, F-Zero X is definitely really cool. That game is called Doshin the Giant.
Yeah.
Um, and that's supposedly a cool game, but the problem is they released it on the GameCube, which is probably a way better version because it's significantly better hardware. So, but I guess
Is that
it
like
would
how
be cool to
Animal
show
Crossing
off.
was on 64 but was released here on GameCube?
Yeah. I think there's a Sim City on the disk drive as well.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know how that would be.
Hmm. Yeah, no idea. It's a weird thing with like Sim Cities and their releases on Nintendo systems. I think there was an NES port that never came out. Super Nintendo was the big one. And then yeah, 64 DD never came out. Or no, it came out, but on disk drive is what I meant. So no one played it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's there is a Sim City, just a normal cart game, but there's a different Sim City that's on the disk drive. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I didn't actually know that was a cartridge release. No one ever talks about it then.
um,
But yeah, definitely
yeah,
some games on there.
there was not anything like the Satellaview. There was supposed to be on the disk drive, but
That did
it
not
was
work
a
out, did it?
failure. So,
Yeah.
uh,
That
there's
I
a
mean it's good though.
shogi. There's a Japanese chess variant called shogi, and there's a shogi game on the N64. And if you buy the cart, it has a slot to plug a dial-up cable into, and you were supposed to be able to play matches online with the disk drive, but
Huh.
I don't think that ever
Interesting.
happened.
Wow.
Um,
That's really cool, actually.
I haven't researched it enough to know, but I do know that cart has the slot to plug a dial-up cable, which maybe could be used for some cool exploits on the console somehow.
Yeah. Cool to see like primitive online gaming technology trying to be implemented before it became really mainstream.
Yeah, the history is definitely one of the coolest parts of doing this is
Hmm.
seeing like I don't know, like I played some games that have like decent shadow and lighting effects and they don't have the graphics card to do that well, so I'm like, well, what kind of dev tricks are they doing to make this work? And it's pretty cool. Um, I guess nowadays they have so much memory they can just force games to have cool graphic effects,
Yeah.
but doing it on garbage Nintendo 64, it's really cool to see.
Yeah. I'm a big sucker for like video game history stuff, so being able to see entire libraries and like the stuff behind them is really cool. Are there any PAL exclusive games? I know other consoles had some like PAL exclusive content.
There are literally two, I think,
Uh
maybe
oh.
three. The only worth noteworthy one is, well, okay, there's a tennis game that it's not PAL exclusive, but it never came out in America. It was only Europe and Japan. It's called Center Court Tennis. It's not very great, but it's made by Hudson Soft, who made like
Hmm.
Mario Party. Um, I don't really know why it didn't come out here, but the only PAL exclusive I know off the top of my head is a game called Taz Express, the for the Tasmanian Devil in Looney Tunes, and
Hmm.
it's not very good.
Oh.
So it's probably good that it didn't come out here. Uh, yeah, it's I don't I that might be the only one. Because I was like, yeah, I want to do the U.S., Japan, and PAL regions, and I looked and I'm like, where are all the PAL games? And they just didn't. They don't have them like they do for a lot of other consoles.
So how do you play the PAL games?
Um, the EverDrive somehow tricks the console into running it. I don't know what
Really?
it's
Interesting.
doing. Um,
Like I know if you try to run a PAL ROM on like the NES, it won't be at the right frame rate because PAL is 50 hertz when
yeah,
NTSC regions
and
is 60.
it might be doing it incorrectly because I don't know what it's doing. I haven't read into the technology for it.
Mm.
Yeah, I can boot up PAL games just fine on my American N64.
All two of them.
Well, I mean, I even if I had like PAL SM64 or something, I could
Yeah,
play that as well.
but why would you?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. I'll have to look into that then because I wasn't sure how that worked.
Yeah, there's been like 10 different revisions of the N64 EverDrive, so it might be one of the newer
Yeah, I have a
versions
pretty
that's
old
that.
one. It was still called the Ultra EverDrive. I think it's called something else now.
Okay. Yeah,
But
the newest one they added a battery to it to let you play Animal Crossing because it
oh,
used a
that's cool.
battery to simulate a real life clock. Uh,
Super
I
cool.
guess they did that just for one game, but yeah, I know there's a lot of different revisions to it.
Just borrow a PAL 64 and a PAL power supply and television.
Well, it's
That won't be
not
hard.
the N64 is just an N64. You take the power supply out and plug in a different one.
Hmm.
I was in Australia a lot the last couple years, and I just brought my normal N64, but I had to find a power supply there that sent me 50 hertz or whatever the electricity standard is called.
Yeah.
Uh, It's just the power cable that's different. The console is the same everywhere,
Well,
other
that's
than
interesting.
they have like little tabs in there to prevent you from putting in a certain cart, but you can just plop those out easily.
That's cool because like older consoles definitely weren't. They had like they were different consoles for the different regions. So that's interesting that 64 wasn't that way. Hmm. I'm learning. Um, Something I know I saw recently that's cool is I don't know if you know Pat the NES Punk. He has like a book series where he'll like work with the team and put a book with like every game from a console on it, and there like be little reviews and stuff. But I heard coming out next year is Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
So
I know who he is, but I haven't seen that. I'll have to see what game he chooses then.
yeah, I know the NES book is like always in the GDQ practice room, like where you give your badge to like rent out consoles or whatever. They always just have his NES book sitting there. So you've
Oh,
probably
okay.
at least seen one of them, but yeah, I got the NES and SNES books, so I'm excited to see that Nintendo 64 one's coming out. So
Yeah, I might have
good
to get it then
information.
and see
Yeah,
what he has to say.
yeah, they're pretty good quality, I think, but it's just something to like browse through. It's cool. It's pretty cool if you're into like the entire history or yeah, like entire history of a thing, console or something. And it's got to be slightly easier with the Nintendo 64 given like compared to other consoles, it did not release a lot of games.
Yeah, that's one reason that I even thought I could do this challenge is because, well, before the Japanese games, it was 296, I think, in
Mhm.
North America. And I was like, I could do that in 3, 4 years maybe. But then you look at like, what if I did the GameCube and it's like 700? I'm like, well, that doubled. And the games are also probably longer in general.
What if you do the
And
PlayStation? It's like thousands.
yeah, so people ask me very often, they're like, what are you going to do after you finish the N64? Are you going to do the Sega Genesis or whatever? I'm like, man, this has taken years. I don't know.
Just
Like,
be satisfied, damn it.
I
Yeah.
don't know. And I probably don't have time.
Yeah. So what are your like favorites and least favorites you've had to play so far?
Uh, so I rate the games at the end, how much I like them. There's been 4 games that I gave a 10 out of 10 to so far. Um, and these are just ones that I may not have played others that I would find a 10
Yeah,
out of
you're
10
like
that I
halfway
played.
through.
Yeah, so Paper Mario, one of my favorite games on the console. I think probably the one that holds up the best. It even graphically still looks great. Um, and then Ocarina of Time is still great, which there's a little nostalgia bias. Maybe if I'd never played it, would I still feel that way? But I think it's still very good. Um, and then there were 2 Japanese games I talked a while back about Sin and Punishment. It's a 3D on rails shooter. It's very good. It's made by Treasure, who
Hmm.
makes a lot of really good quality shoot 'em ups. Um, and then there was a game called Custom Robo V2, which is uh it's hard to even describe what it is. It's like a 3D mech battler. The gameplay feels similar to like playing Smash Bros, but it's not the same as Smash Bros at all, but it kind of is fast paced, a lot of jumping and projectiles and melee combat.
Hmm.
It's really good, and it has like 30 hours worth of content in it, which that's one of the things I consider when I'm rating the game. I'm like, well, this was great, but I finished the game in 2 hours. Like,
Yeah.
I feel a little underwhelmed.
Well, that's cool. It's cool that there's like the obvious ones and then like some very not obvious ones that are like, here's some hidden gems you can check out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so on the other side of the
Uh,
spectrum, what are
and the
what's
worst
the dog
games,
shit ones?
there's a lot.
Oh no.
Ah, I think I've given like over 10 games a 0 out of 10 at this point.
Damn.
There's a lot of golf games that are incredibly bad. Uh, what was it? The PGA European Tour, I think. It's just bad. It's boring. It's awful. Most of the 0 out of 10 games aren't that interesting, I feel, because they're just bad because they're boring, and it's not like, wow, this game sucks. It's just, I'm bored and I don't even want to play. But there's some that I gave like a 1 or a half a point. There's a Japanese game called Ultraman Battle Collection. I don't know if you're familiar with Ultraman. It's like a
No.
popular anime character in Japan, and I think it has been here too.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's kind of like a JRPG, and so like if you've seen like Final Fantasy VII, you have the active time battle. Like you gotta wait for the meter to fill up, then you can make your move. It takes 1.5 seconds, and Ultraman it takes like 20 seconds to fill up. So you're just standing there staring, and you can't do anything, and there's no reason you can't do anything. They could have shortened it, and then you have to like walk places in the map, and it's like he walks like a pixel a second, and it's like, why is he so slow? There's no reason for this. It was awful. It did have good music, and I gave it half a point because I liked the music. But it was so bad, and it had like a gambling mechanic to get your kids indoctrinated in gambling, which I'm like, why? Why is this
God
game
damn.
anything? It's so bad. I think there was like an IGN review of it from like back in the '90s when it came out, and they didn't have nice things to say about it either. It's awful.
Wow.
That's one that stands out definitely. As there's obvious stuff like Superman that I'd heard of, but that game I'd never heard of it. I'm like, oh, this is a popular IP. Surely they made a cool game for this popular character. No, it sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Superman is as bad as they say.
It's pretty bad. I think it gets a lot of hate just because the popular YouTuber made a video about it a long time ago. Um, I actually think it has a fantastic flying physics engine. Like
Hmm.
the problem with it is half of the game is not spent flying, and those are horrible. But also the parts where you are flying, you just fly through rings, and that's all you do. So it gets boring. But the physics for flying are actually good.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is not a good game. Um, Several sports games, I'm like, this is horrible. This does not feel good at all, and it just sucks because they were trying to make a realistic game in the '90s, and it's now 2023 or whatever. So this feels like trash. Um, uh, let's see. Taz Express, the PAL exclusive game. I did not like that game at all.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, glad it's stuck in PAL regions then.
yeah. Let me see my list here. Oh yeah, NASCAR. I hated NASCAR. They took like real rock songs as the soundtrack, but the N64 can't hold that, so it's like a 5 second loop over and over, and it drives you nuts. It's horrible to play. Doesn't feel good. Uh, Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there was a Powerpuff Girls game that basically, if you've ever seen Power Stone, the fighting game, which is a good game, uh, they copied that, and I beat it in like 20 minutes, and I was like, that was stupid. And not like, oh, I beat it. I 100%ed it in like 20 minutes. I'm like, this sold for $60. Somebody
Jeez.
bought this, and the that should have been illegal. Like, this is horrible.
What a scam. Yeah. Was that like the shortest game?
Uh, there's been a few short ones. Like there was an Elmo letter adventure, Elmo number journey, where it's supposed to be a learning game, but when you're old and know the answers, it was like 20 minutes. That might those might be the shortest. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the Elmo games were dumb too, but I'm like, hopefully nobody bought those unless they had a toddler. But
Hmm.
the Powerpuff Girls, that was a popular IP for like young children. Like a lot of people probably bought that, and it, it's bad.
What a scam. Unfortunate. But yeah, I know by far the game that took the longest was that horse racing game. What made it take so long?
Yeah, so I got it here. This is the Konami official strategy guide.
Hmm,
Um, so
that's a
first
big
of all,
guide.
the game's in Japanese. I don't know Japanese, so that instantly creates some kind of barrier. Um, we hope with those games, maybe they don't need much text. Maybe you can just ignore the story. This game, you need all the text. It's like, have you ever played Monster Rancher?
No.
So it's like that's a game where you like run a farm with monsters and you like breed them and level them up and take care of them. It's a big simulation. This is the same thing but with horses. So I had to run a horse farm, take care of the horses, fit their training patterns, keep my staff happy, keep the people, maybe this employee doesn't like this one, so I gotta take care of that. Don't want them working together. Plan for the races. They were trying to make it very, very realistic, and they did a good job of that. But the problem with that is they also made it so hard. Like, so a lot of people would think you're struggling because it's in Japanese. Well, it took maybe, I don't know, 30 hours or so to be like, I know what every button in this game does. The language is irrelevant now. And so it's just the way you beat the game is so dumb. It's like the horse owners, you don't own the horses. These rich people call you and let you take care of their horse. So the way you win is you got to win an international race. Well, the only way to do that is there's these two specific guys that have enough money to enter. And until they give you a horse, you literally can't beat the game. Well, you can't talk to them until you've networked your way up like 5 tiers of horse owner, like proven your worth,
Hmm.
which it took me 82 hours, I think, to finally even get one of those two people to like contact me. So then you get their horse and you have to do these very specific races and you got to like take care of the horse and make sure it's ready to race at these specific dates. And if the horse isn't good enough, well, too bad. You need another one. Like, I had plenty of fantastic horses, but because they weren't from those two specific people, it didn't matter.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it took so long for the stars to align. It's horrible. It's dumb. It's dumb. It made it so hard.
But you just finished it, finally.
Yeah, it was Monday or something, or not Monday, Wednesday or something like that. I don't know.
It's a Christmas miracle.
And yeah. Oh, it's like it's weird being done with it because I've been playing it so long that like I'm like, this is my stream is playing this game, and now I'm playing Glover right now, which is a platformer. I'm like, this kind of feels strange. Like I feel like I should be just watching horses run and stuff. So I gotta break out of that horse mindset. I'm like, oh yeah, we're playing normal games again.
Yes, you only played that game. Like, you didn't like play another game on top of that in the background.
No,
Oh.
there was a point where I quit when Mario Wonder came out, and I played that, and we took like a month off or something like that. But I didn't like play a different N64 till I had beaten that one.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I'm glad the pain is over, finally.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. There's a second horse racing game on the N64 that
Oh.
before this challenge, when I got that game, I drew it and I was like, "Oh, this is probably going to be like a gambling game, like you just bet on horses." And nope, that's I wish it was that. That would probably be easy.
Hmm.
This other one is not it's not like the sequel, it's just a separate series. There's like some reason people are making horse racing games over there. It's called Derby Stallion, and yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm just trying to not acknowledge it right now.
hopefully it is not as bad as the other one.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
Because just seeing the size of that strategy guide in the background is wild for a horse racing game on the Nintendo 64. I can't
It's
imagine.
it's a good game in the sense that they did great. It's coded well, it runs well, it looks good. The problem is nobody wants it. Like nobody asked for this game. They could have made some other thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
God. How long did it take to beat again?
It was 134 hours
My
basically,
God.
and yeah,
I'm excited for the
about 30
video.
hours. About 30 hours of that was trying to figure out what the game was, but so it was really maybe 110 or so like actual gameplay once I understood it.
Yeah, that's just wild. All for horse racing. Well, hopefully that'll be the longest game out of the library by a large amount. We can only hope.
Yeah, so far it's nearly double the second place, so that's hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Second place like an RPG too.
It was StarCraft, which
Okay.
has all 6 campaigns, so it took quite a while. But it was
Yeah.
fun at least.
Okay. That's crazy that this was double the length of all of StarCraft.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're a little over halfway done with the library.
Yeah,
Um,
something like 60% maybe, something
yeah.
like that.
So, are there any games you haven't done that you're looking forward to or dreading coming up?
Um, well, obviously the other horse racing, a lot of it is just Japanese games.
Yeah.
So there's 7 mahjong games on the console.
Seven.
We've
Wow.
beaten 4 of them, and they've all been rough.
Mm,
So there's still 3 more. I don't want to play them. I actually like mahjong, but not
not seven
mahjong in
times.
64 games. Uh, there's 2 shogi games, which is
Mhm.
Like in Japan, they made a variant of chess a long time ago called shogi. Um, but for games that aren't Japanese, maybe a lot of people keep bringing up this RPG called Aiden Chronicles. Um,
Never heard.
no idea what it is, but apparently it's notorious, so I guess we'll see. Um, there's a shooter called Hexen that a lot of people are warning me about. I've never seen it, so I guess
Hmm.
we'll see. But as long as they're fun, I mean, I don't care if they're hard. I just I don't like boring.
Yeah, you're used to doing difficult stuff, so should be a breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the positive games?
There's still quite a lot of those too. Right now the one I want to see is Cruisin' USA because I had it as a kid and I've
Mm.
literally not seen it since then. So I'm going to get that big nostalgia rush playing it. Um, there's a lot of games I've not played since I was a kid, but I've seen them. So that one I've not seen it. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be. I hope it's fun. Um, yeah, we're saving Mario 64 for the very end, which
Mm.
is obviously going to be fun. I got Majora's Mask. I've never played it actually, so
All
uh,
right.
I'm sure it's similar to Ocarina of Time. I'm sure it's going to be really fun. Star Fox is awesome. Jet Force Gemini. I've never played it, but I hear it's pretty cool, and it's also tough. Perfect Dark, Mario Tennis. Um, just off the top of my head, those are all really good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, NBA Hang Time is a arcade style sports game, so it's not going to be awful. They tried to make it unrealistic. I think
Mm-hmm.
that one's still going to be fun. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones coming up,
Yeah.
and a lot of mediocre that just are like, it was all
Yeah.
right.
It's interesting that there's still a lot more bangers you haven't done yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones, and like most people are interested in the really good or the really bad, but for the most part, there's just kind of average, meh. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's the average game is just meh.
I feel like most of the Nintendo 64 library was just meh, and then it had a handful of good stuff, but
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. But still pretty interesting. I mean, super early. There's always something about like super early 3D stuff. And that's primarily what that console is, so it's interesting.
yeah, definitely. They needed that console to make the next gen and what we have today. We needed those horrible cameras and blocky graphics.
Yeah, the cameras sure were something, but they figured it out eventually, I guess. But yeah, definitely a really cool challenge. I know obviously TMR did the NES, Spike's doing the SNES now. I know some people have done like Genesis, some Sega stuff. So, very popular thing to play an entire library, so you're like the Nintendo 64 one now. That's a big console to have to do.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely TMR. I don't know if anybody like off content creation had done something, but he's at least the known kind of father of that type of challenge. But even the N64, there's a guy named Ace Gamer Sam. He's finished all the North American N64 games.
Oh,
He finished
cool.
last year, I think, or maybe this year, early this year. There's a guy named Mr. Radon who was 100%ing every N64 game, which
Ooh, wow.
I wish him luck when he gets to the horse
Oh
racing
no.
game.
Like
I did
you
not
just beat it.
100% it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I see a lot of people. I browse the retro category, and there's a lot of people doing There's a guy I found doing Sega, like not just one console, just Sega's
All Sega.
discography, which I have no idea what that would entail. A lot of weird stuff.
Well, that's cool that there's a lot of that kind of content out there. But yeah, I do like that you're specifically making those like shortened down, condensed videos about each one. How do you know have you? I assume you haven't made the one about the horse racing game since you just beat it.
No, yeah. The videos are they're like the next video that comes out, let me see. Um is Hydro Thunder. I beat that
Ooh.
game in October of 2022. So the
So we're
videos
a
are
bit
quite
behind.
behind.
I see. I see.
Yeah, it takes a lot longer to make a video than it does to just beat the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the horse people think the horse video is going to be like this massive 10-hour journey, but it's realistically it's going to be, yeah, so I raced horses for 50 hours. Let me jump ahead. Like a lot of the game is just farming.
You
Like,
could turn it into a documentary.
yeah, I don't know what it's going to turn into, but I don't think it'll be as long as people think.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of the content was just repetitive, so no
Yep,
reason to just
exactly.
make it fill up that whole view time when it can be condensed a lot more. But yeah, I mean, so you're like 60% done with the library, and what's like the percentage you'd say you're done with the videos?
Uh, I think I just put out a number 100. Well, I can look. I just put out 151. So,
Like
um,
35%?
yeah, that's
Something like
like
that.
30, high 30, 40%, something like that.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
I mean, that's a lot of content, so it's all there and ready. Yeah. It's crazy how much there still is to do when you're already hitting numbers that high.
yeah, it's
Definitely
a
in it for the
lot.
long run. So this project will probably be done in what, like 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I'd say 2025 sometime. I maybe will have beaten the games unless there's another secret evil game like the horse game that I
It'll end up
would
being
never have guessed.
200 hours.
Yeah,
Oh
but
no.
there's like a prediction thing just based off the average game time. It says I'll beat it in March 2025, but it's hard to tell. It's
Yeah. Impossible to know until you get there. So, but yeah, it's a super interesting project. So glad we got to talk about it in detail here. Um, but yeah, other than that though, are there any other future plans in streaming, speedrunning, or anything that you can think of?
um I have this idea that I've talked about several times. The issue is find the time to do it. Kind of just want to do like storytelling, really, of just the old days of Mario Maker, because
Mm,
a lot of the people watching Maker 2, they did not have Maker 1, and they probably didn't watch back then. So there's just a lot of interesting stories, like some of the stuff I was telling you earlier, like the tropes in pro levels or practice doors, or like just maybe like a 10-minute like this thing happened. There's the thing that started it was there was a glitch that um happened where you could spawn any item you wanted into a level and cheat to clear it.
mm,
And Nintendo did emergency maintenance on the game for like 3 hours, or not 3 hours, 3 days.
damn.
The game just went down, and they didn't say anything about why. and only a few of us in the community really knew why. And so I think it would be cool, but I don't want to just do it as this random thing. I'd like to really present it well, but
Yeah.
I think it would take a long time because I'd want to dig up Discord screenshots and old emails and things to show. Yeah, I think that would be cool. But for the most part, just kind of cruising with what I got now. The N64 is definitely a very time consuming project.
I can imagine. But yeah. Um so if I think I've gone over speedrun history, Mario Maker history, Nintendo 64, everything. Um anything important that I missed in our discussion?
Uh, I don't think so.
Doing my job well, am I?
Yeah.
All right, because it sounds like we can start wrapping things up here. It has been almost 3 hours, so pretty lengthy. I think we covered all our bases here. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about for sure.
but if you're satisfied, we can get wrapped up here. Um, so feel free to, if there's any questions, by the way, in chat that we haven't talked about yet, you can feel free to ask now. But yeah, go ahead and self promote however you'd like.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you can see it on the screen, my channels. If you're curious, some people are curious about the N64 streams. I kind of split my stream in two. So when I play the N64 games, it's from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday through Sunday. That's the main question I get is when do you play these games live?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the videos come out on YouTube every Friday. And then, yeah, we have THABEAST channel now. It's a lot of Mario Maker content. Kind of split the two branches apart.
East and West.
Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and links are on stream. Links will be in the YouTube description if you're watching there. Easy to find. Click on them, I guess. And yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. If you're watching when
Oh,
this
yeah,
was
it's New
aired,
Year's Eve.
it is.
I kind
So,
of I didn't remember.
2024 is upon us. Be afraid. But yeah, if you enjoyed the episode, feel free to, follow the Twitch, the YouTube, all the links to both channels are in the description. So just follow everyone. It's very important. And yeah, I'm usually bad at outros, so just keeping with tradition as we do. um, and yeah, I have some good stuff lined up for next year, so gonna try to keep this weekly streak alive going. I don't know what number we're on, like 45 or something. So pretty good streak. Hope to keep it going. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed and yeah, take care. Happy 2024. Goodbye.
All right, see ya.
See ya.